Howdy y'all, Wyrm here. Welcome to episode 4 of the Catch Up to Endwalker series. I'm putting a bit of a spin on it this time. We will be focusing on a major plot point of Endwalker, the raid series known as Pandemonium. Obviously, we don't know that much if anything about the FF14 incarnation of Pandemonium, as it will tie in heavily to the Endwalker storyline. But we can theorise based on the history of Pandemonium in the Final Fantasy series. So, come along with me, let's explore the history of Pandemonium in the Final Fantasy series, and during which we'll go over some theories. Pandemonium makes its first appearance in Final Fantasy II. It serves as the final dungeon of the game. The lore of this location states Pandemonium is the capital of Hell and was once ruled over by Satan, until he was defeated by Emperor Matthias, the main antagonist of the game. Now that he rules Pandemonium, the Emperor has Pandemonium rise to the mortal world upon his return as the Hell Emperor. Its rise to the mortal world destroys Castle Palamecia and then stands in its place. After the Emperor is defeated, Pandemonium sinks back into Hell. But there is something very important that happens before these events, when Pandemonium first appeared. Long ago, before the events I mentioned, a great hole opened in the world, out of which spilled countless monsters. After they spilled out, Pandemonium emerged from the Great Hole. A group of individuals, in fear for people's lives and the fate of the world, created a spell, Ultima, which they then used to seal Pandemonium back where it came from. The mages who created Ultima went into hiding out of fear that the powerful spell that they created would be misused, and to keep it safe for when it would be needed again. Theory time. Does this remind you a lot of Endwalker's plot that we know so far? It sounds just like what happens during the final days, where monsters spill out from places unknown to ravage the world. When I read this I was so excited, and I still am. It's too close to the final days to be a coincidence. Is it possible Pandemonium was created or summoned to serve a purpose in the final days? Maybe it's where the monsters, aka Terminus, aka Voidsend, are coming from. Maybe it's a final city remnant of the 13th world, which is now the World of Darkness. I have so many ideas and theories that it would literally take me hours to explain them all. Final Fantasy II has given us so many ideas and theories of what Pandemonium could be in Endwalker, and we haven't even got to the rest of the series yet. Pandemonium's next appearance in the series is in Final Fantasy VIII. In this game it appears as a Guardian Force, another name for summons in Final Fantasy VIII. It's a wind-based Guardian Force and uses the attack Tornado Zone to deal wind damage to all enemies. There's not much else that needs to be said about it in Final Fantasy VIII. It was a powerful and useful summon, and I remember using it a lot when I played the game. We jump now to Final Fantasy IX, where Pandemonium appears again and has my brain spinning with so many theories. Pandemonium serves as Garland's castle on the world of Terra. Quick history lesson. Terra is an old world. To stay alive, it absorbs younger worlds. Pandemonium serves to keep the souls of Terra's inhabitants stored away until Terra absorbs a new world, and thus these souls can inhabit newly created bodies, and the cycle continues. The player's party travels through Pandemonium to defeat Garland, and stop his plan of having Terra absorb their world of Gaia. The party defeats him, and then another antagonist of the game appears. Kuja, as he's known, battles the party and as part of his master plan, achieves great power, and uses the spell Ultima to defeat the party. After some events, Kuja uses Ultima again to destroy Pandemonium and Terra. You may already see the parallels between this game's story and Final Fantasy II, particularly with the use of Ultima. But let's look at Pandemonium's function real quick. It keeps the souls of Terra's inhabitants safe until they can be reborn. When remembering all of this from the old days when I played Final Fantasy IX, I realised just how similar they are to the Ascians. Is it possible that Pandemonium in Final Fantasy XIV serves a similar purpose in Final Fantasy IX, but it serves to keep the souls or the shards of the Ascians safe within it until they can be reborn? We know many currently active Ascians are shards of their whole self, with many shards not being restored. Maybe these other shards have been stored in Pandemonium until the rejoining is completed. Then they can be reborn. Speaking of rejoining, in Final Fantasy IX it's pretty much the same. Terra would absorb Gaia in a similar fashion to how the Shard Worlds rejoining works in Final Fantasy XIV. So maybe Pandemonium is the final sanctuary of the Ascians, and where we go to put an end to them once and for all. There's so many theories to go with here. I won't go too much into the rest of its appearance in other games, as I did the work for you, so I'll summarise. It's an enemy in Final Fantasy XI, and also a name of a server in that game. It appears again as an enemy in Final Fantasy XII as a fal'Cie, one of the final ones at that. The rest of its appearances are as a dungeon and similar to the other games. It's in Final Fantasy II and IX that we got the main glimpses of what it could be in Endwalker. So let's go with my favourite theory of what Pandemonium could be in Final Fantasy XIV. My theory is Pandemonium is a palace sanctuary for the Ascians, to house the souls of their shards so they can be recreated on a needs basis, but also to house the souls of those Ascians that remained from the final days. It may also serve as a place where the shards of Ascians could be reintegrated together. We didn't hear much about this place, and more than likely it's hidden away in the empty, but in the new final days it may appear through a great hole into our world, or be swept along with the monsters that have now appeared in our world. My guess is, after the Ascians' defeat, we enter Pandemonium to put an end to their destructive legacy, to shut down Pandemonium, and thus close the book on the Ascian story once and for all. But I want to know what you all think Pandemonium's going to be. Leave your theory in the comments, or what you hope Pandemonium will be. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, and hit subscribe to stay tuned for my upcoming videos. Thanks all, and now, as always, have a good one.